welcome back to Focus on Arts. Thanks for coming back. I'm your host, Patrick Van Slyke, and today I'm joined by fellow film students Gino and Steven. And at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to start talking about, let's talk about the genres that we're interested in. And I'll start off, okay? When I was young, and I'm older than both you guys, Star Trek was the biggest thing. It was all I cared about. And then Star Wars came out, and I was young when it came out, and it shocked me. It rocked my world. And from that point on, I was a science fiction guy, right? But then I happened across The Exorcist. Have you seen The Exorcist?
Yes.
Okay.
I have seen The Exorcist.
And it changed my entire life. And from that point on, I was just a horror fanatic. So everything that I do now is horror. You've read my script,
yes,
right?
Yes, great script.
Yeah,
great script. I really like it.
It's based on a ghost story, sort of possession.
Yes.
And so that's my focus at this point. I've written a lot that way, and that's where I feel like my creative is focused.
Yeah.
And Stephen, where do you think yours is focused, and what got you there?
Well, I initially I was really into horror as well.
Okay.
Yeah. The early 70s films, exploitation films.
Okay.
As a matter of fact. For example, the films made by Martin Scorsese.
Oh, yes.
His films like Taxi Driver, and films like his other earlier films.
Yeah.
And that went hand in hand with science. That went hand in hand with science fiction. Because every once in a while, I would see. I grew up in the blockbuster generation.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow.
And I wouldn't pay any attention to my homework. Never pay any attention to my homework.
That's why he's really not a student, and he's just showing up there.
That's why it took me 10 years to get out of community college. All right? 10 years.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So some of the films that really influenced me were the detective films of the 70s and the 80s.
Oh.
There are a few films that weren't ever converted to DVD from VHS.
Oh.
And a few have, like, for example, Tightrope with Clint Eastwood. And there's another one that I still haven't been able to find, which is called Too Scared to Scream.
Oh.
Which takes place in New York, and with about these murders that are going on within this building.
Okay.
And I like films that have a twist at the end.
Okay.
And where you find out who the killer is, and you don't really you never see it coming.
You don't see it coming.
Yeah.
I got it. How about you, Gino? What type of movies do you see yourself making? And have there been any movies that really influenced you, like you saw and were like, wow, this is a line I want to pursue?
Well, for me, I like all kind of movies.
Sure.
It's very hard for me to pick a movie.
Yeah.
I would say Citizen Kane.
Oh, sure.
But that was because I read Ruber.
Oh, yeah.
Ebert.
Yes.
Book.
Yes.
And
Okay.
that makes me like.
Right.
He explained it about the movie, and it makes me like it.
Well, it is considered the best movie ever made.
Oh, okay.
Citizen Kane is. Yeah. So.
I like his very creativity.
Oh, yes.
He do make something big with pretty much less.
Yes. Make less is more.
Less is more. So,
you bet.
So that's why that movie impresses me, because of the way he make it, and he get all those shots from the library and throw them together and make a big huge movie. And when you watch it without anybody telling you how he did it, you think that he actually shoot the whole thing, but he didn't.
Right.
So I think he was a very smart movie maker.
That is
filmmaker.
very impressive.
Very, very impressive.
That is very impressive. There's two types of filmmakers. There really is. There's like Alfred Hitchcock who just made one type of movie. It was
Yeah.
suspense detective movies.
Yeah.
And that's all he made. And there's a type of criticism or critics that look at that, and it's called artourism.
Yeah.
And they say that throughout the entire work of one man,
Yeah.
you can tell it was made by him because it has the same elements in every single one.
Yes.
Voyeurism.
Yeah, and you can see that in all of his. But artourism doesn't take into account people like you.
Yeah.
Who like, there's a number of them that make great movies, but they cover an entire spectrum.
Yeah,
so
different.
If
yeah.
you saw two of them but didn't know who
Genre.
made them, you might not recognize it as being
Yeah.
the same director. So, but do you see, Gino? Do you see art? Movies as being a valid art form, as like painting or you know, or music and things that have been classically considered art, because movie making is relatively new, considering
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
art and music's been around since the beginning of time.
Yes, absolutely.
So, do you see it as a true art form?
Yeah, I think movie maker is a true art form.
Okay.
Even though it's new in comparisons to everything else.
Right.
Track back to the beginning of time, as you said it. But I think it's just a different way of telling stories.
Right.
You know, and that's what gets me to like movies is stories.
Yeah.
And I'll go to the movie theater and I'll watch the new movies, the American movies, and I'll go to Hulu and watch all the foreign movies.
Yeah.
I watch any movie.
Mature.
I watch any movie, and nothing really stands to mind that'll make me make the decision that this is the movie I wanna. This is the kind I wanna do.
Right. Right.
Because every movie I watch, there's something that I like
That's really nice.
about how they tell that story.
Right.
And I try not to compare, like say, hey, this director is better than that one.
Right.
I try to find out what's that director make it different from that director.
Right.
What I
Right.
learn, you know.
Yeah, what's the best?
yeah.
From both of them.
From both of
and
them,
then put
yes.
that into your toolbox for when
Yes.
you make movies.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
great. How about you? Do you see filmmaking as a true art?
That's a very interesting question, as a matter of fact. If you have a message and you use film as the medium, then it instantly becomes a piece of art,
Right.
and it's just all a matter about the message that you want to convey. And my goal is to give a message and have people converse on something having to do with my film and sort of open people's minds.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think that, I think that basically everybody agrees now, and you know, I believe that film takes the best of almost all types of art.
Yes.
And brings them together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially because you're creating beautiful sets, you know,
Yes.
that maybe emulate some pictures, and you
Yes.
are telling a story.
Absolutely.
But you've got musical scores that go along with it. For instance, in Space Odyssey 2001, Space Odyssey.
Yes.
There is no talking for the first 23 minutes of the movie.
Wow.
It's when
That's
he's
right.
leaving home, going into space.
Well, the apes.
Yes, from that point to him and then going into space, and there's no speaking for 23 minutes, but it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, and this musical score behind it, I think it's Beethoven, but I'm not sure. But it's just fabulous, you know, so
Yeah.
I really think that it does. And I believe, like you too, Gino, I think that if you really open your mind and look at any movie, you can find something in there that somebody's done that's really unique,
Yes.
and that you can take in and bring with you.
You know, when I was a kid with my friends in my country, we watched all kind of action movie. That's when Mission in Action get to my island, right? It was Chuck
Right
Norris,
Oh yeah,
and then Rambo and stuff, and
Right.
Conan the Barbarian. And we sit around and we talk, and our conversation were like, what happened if we get all these guys in one team and have them kill the bad guys, right?
Right.
And then the Expendable came out.
Right.
And I'm like, I thought about that
Right.
like 20 years ago. I was just a kid. I was like, what happened, right?
That's my money.
Yeah, I'm like, look at that.
Right.
We think about that. We talk about that. And when the movie came out, I was like laughing. I was like,
Yeah.
man, when I was a kid, that's what we talk about.
That's
putting
great.
all the action character
Right.
at that time, putting them together and go after.
Gino, didn't you also have in your hometown a generational fire, where every
He's trying to push me back.
where your granddad passed on a fire where you guys protected it with your life?
What'd you get from your grandfather? A fire.
A fire.
Had a coconut.
Unfortunately, we didn't. We did have the coconut, but not the fire.
Oh my God.
We know, when I grew up, we already have matches and fire.
Okay, good.
We weren't that ancient.
I'm glad to hear it. That's really good. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today, guys. But I really want to thank you both for coming in.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
I think we had a great talk,
Thank you.
and I look forward to after we start. I think your movie is going to be the first one that we start to produce.
Yes,
And because
please.
you're ready to go.
Please.
So as we get into that project, why don't we come back and we'll talk about it more and
Yes.
see if our perceptions have changed any.
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds
All
good.
right. How about you?
Right,
Sounds
thank you.
great.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I think we had a great discussion today. And it's my pleasure to be here with my two great friends, Stephen and Gino. And thanks for joining us at Focus on Arts. And we will talk to you soon again. Thanks. Bye-bye.